You're watching Drake Wing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drake Wing Gaming, and some of you mounts with the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Conway, Wolf's Path. So let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Alrighty. Okay. It's my story, Wolf. Now I get to tell it. Wolf, I get to tell it how I tell it. Anyway, where was I? Yes, we had planned it all, and it worked swimmingly. Me and a gaggle of the other officers' kids sneaked to designated locations under a trickle of light from the half moon, and took important things from each. He counts on his fingers as he lists them. Grog, tobacco, and a pipe. Oil, food of course, a few instruments, and lastly, a musket with shot and powder. He glanced at Wolf, who was looking at the lizard incredulously. Drunk kids and a gun. Great combination. I know, right? Wolf rolls his eyes. Anyway, what was all this for, Jules? A party, of course. Our party. Living in the military is stifling. Even when you're not in it, if you're around it, you're expected to hold up certain standards. He sounds bitter. Then he realizes he's getting a bit too serious, so he straightens out and brightens. So, that's why we wanted to do something on our own terms. Something fun and just for us. We figured we could get in a little bit of trouble for taking stuff, but it would be worth it. We would have control for that night. No discipline, no discipline or anything. You listen in. Wolf is too, despite not looking at Julian. The canine's eyes are focused outside, but his ears twitch as the lizard speaks. Sounds like a much-needed break for all of you. I can't imagine what growing up under that is like. Well, it produced the man you see in front of you, so it can't have been all terrible. He laughs. Anyway, where was I? Gathering everything went fine, as we all knew the place well. We snuck off a good distance away, struggled to set fire for what felt like an hour, and then we started having fun. Unsurprisingly, it took us very little to get drunk. Just one tot of grog had most of us swaying around, barely able to stand, and we were laughing, struggling to light pipes or play music. With fire in my belly, I declared that I wanted to try firing the musket. Did you even know how? Of course not, but I had seen plenty of drilling, so I thought I could, figure it out. Maybe I could have if I was sober. He then begins to mime his actions as he describes them. I was leaning on the musket because I could barely stand. I poured in some powder from a horn, then took a minute to get the ramrod into the barrel. I've never missed a hole so many times in my life. I then try to shoulder it, trip a little, and then aim at a little sapling, and BAM! He spreads out his hands, then shakes his right hand vigorously. I way overfilled it with powder. Someone spilled out onto my hand and caught the spark as well. Damn thing kicks me to the ground and nearly bursts, and my hand and arm get burned. I'm sprawled out there yelling. Everyone is laughing, and the sapling is still there, mocking me. You tilt your head, concerned. Were you alright? That doesn't sound pleasant. He's lucky he's alive, the idiot. Could have exploded in his face. Julian stares at his hand. It seems fine now, at least. After a moment, he looks up at you and smiles. Oh, it's just a burn. Wolf is right for once, though. It could have popped. What happened next? Well, something we stupidly didn't think about. Think about it this way. You're a soldier in a fort. It's the middle of the night, and you hear a shot in the distance. They'd go investigate. Yeah. He sits back down, but this time on the table, leaning his head on the rope. Wolf gives him an annoyed look as the lizard swings closer, tail brushing against the canine. We didn't think of that because we were dumb kids, and me, I didn't think my dad would be the one to lead some men out to check on it. Damn workaholic. So he finds all of us. He finds me sprawled out in the dirt, crying because my hand was burned. One of the other kids must have told him what happened. I just remember being hauled up to my feet by him grabbing my shirt. By now, his showman's flares died out. Julian flatly recounts the events, looking off in the distance as he rests his head against the rope holding the table up. He figures that I'm one of the ringleaders that inspired everyone there to be disobedience. I wasn't really coherent enough to argue with him, still drunk and in a bit of shock from everything happening. Then he grabs a gun from one of the men that he rode out with, says he'll show me how to use it, that I need to know how when I join up, and that I need to be disciplined. So he grabs me and walks me through it, forces me to do it despite the burn on my fingers and hand. It took me a while. Julian then realizes just how dreary he sounds as both you and Wolf just stare at him. He tries to laugh it off, smiling wide. Well, it was stupid kid stuff. I got drunk and fell on my ass and got in trouble for it. Embarrassing. He laughs again. It's a nervous chuckle. I'm sorry that happened to you, Julian. That sounds awful. Wolf looks unsure, but does speak up after a moment. Yeah, that sounds like it was bad. Julian's smile falters, but then he stands up, returning to the bench next to you. Oh, it's no big deal. I'm sorry to be both of you. I could have chosen a better story. That one wasn't as fun as I remembered. Yeah, it wasn't. Are you alright? Who? Me? Of course. He points at himself with both thumbs and tugs on the plackets of his shirt. He beams, but is still a little embarrassed. Anyway, there's still Wolf, right? If you're sure you're okay. Wolf looks deep in thought, staring at Julian. His look is less hostile than usual. Maybe he feels bad for the lizard? Wolf furrows his brow and shakes his head. He suddenly turns to you. What do you have for me? You scratch at your chin. It's more difficult for you, Wolf. I just don't know as much about you. It's an unfair advantage. You don't need to know anything about me to ask for a favor. It makes it easier to know what you're okay with. Just don't ask for anything weird and you'll be fine. You sit back for a moment and think. First you scrutinize Wolf, but when he gives you a look, you just stare at the tables as you think instead. What do you want to ask of Wolf? Just have some fun stories. Very intimate ones. You turn your head back to Wolf, giving his body a long look. Your eyes go over Wolf, looking over what you can see with his baggy, simple clothes. Muscular arms, broad shoulders, and intimidating scars contrast his impressively fluffy fur and intense, beautiful eyes. His stoic expression only makes him more intriguing. He looks so hard you even notice a bit of his shirt that's beginning to fray. You then lean forward, resting your head on your hand, propped up by an elbow. Thank y'all. Water time. Alright, guys and gals, and we are back. Okay. So, Wolf, you're older than me and Julian. Wolf quirks an eyebrow at that, tilting his head. Means you have a lot of intimate experience, right? If anything, Wolf looks more confused. Julian, however, is taken aback. You're trying to flirt with Wolf? Shush! Not if you ruin it like this. I don't think you can flirt, man. Like, physically incapable of it. Has he ever had sex? Wolf glares at the both of you. Shut the fuck up, lizard. As for you, cat, I'm not going to answer that. Come up with something else. Maybe you can tell me in private? Well, what if you told me in private? Without Julian? You panic. I can mend your shirt. I notice it's fraying a bit right there. Wolf looks down at where you gesture, feeling the beginnings of a tear. He then looks back at you. So you're saying you want to see him shirtless? Not helping, Jules! Wolf stares at you for a while, ignoring Julian. Eventually, he shrugs. Sure, just so you can fix this, though. You see? What were you thinking? Of course he wouldn't. Wait, what? You also ignore Julian, nodding at Wolf. Alright, thank you. You two are actually going to do this? What the hell, am I hallucinating? On one condition, you tell the lizard nothing about what happens. Of course. Oh my god! You bastard! You two are going to get up to so much! We're done here, then. Yep. Julian pouts. That's it, then. Alright, that was fun. I'm glad you have those dice, Jules. It'll definitely give us something to do. Of course, I bring the fun as always. You better than staring at latrines. Only the highest of compliments from you, Wolf. The three of you stand one by one. You stretch a little, rolling your shoulders and leaning one way then the other with your legs. How long was that? Hard to tell down here. I think we've still got some time left before the next watch. Can we get some fresh air? Maybe find the boatswain and figure out what we'll be doing next? With Samuel being hurt, I mean. Figure that out and find me. I'm gonna rest until then. Sure. See you later, Wolf. The canine just nods before stepping out, no doubt searching for some corner to nap in. And the wolf takes a cat nap, huh? You roll your eyes at the lizard as you head up to the deck with him. I hate that term. How do we end up associated with being so lazy? Maybe there was a particularly famous lazy cat in some old story, or maybe cats just are lazy. I'm not. Oh, of course not. You're the hardest working cat ever. Surely they'll write ballads of you and you'll be as remembered as King Arthur. Ha ha, very funny. I am, thank you. Your back and forth continues as the two of you report to the boatswain. You figure out what you're to do with Samuel what you're to do while Samuel's hurt. The day passes without much excitement. As the time runs down on the current shift, you soon find yourself called up to work again, feeling at least a tinge more confident now as you and the others end up helping with other tasks. And just like the morning shift, that next shift would be wrung out as well, and before long you find yourself in the evening hours of the day, leaving you to wonder what to do this evening. Or if you should even do anything at all, or simply head to bed. How do you spend the evening? You try to find Wolf so you can make good on your suggestion to mend his shirt. When you have some free time in the evening, you take a moment to arm yourself with a needle and some thread from Regia. Apparently next time you should go to the sailmaker instead, but she doesn't refuse your request and gives you one of her needles and some thread. With the necessary equipment in hand, you search the ship for Wolf, trying to put yourself in his place when you can't seem to find him right away. Wondering just where you would spend your time if you were him. Finally, your search leads you to the bow of a ship and you spot him, hidden behind some of the cargo stored out here, leaning against the ship's railing. He looks as if he might be sleeping, his eyes closed and his arms folded behind his head as a makeshift pillow. He looks cute. Not a description that usually fits him. You approach, careful not to make too much noise, but if he can sleep with the sound of the wind in the sails and the shouts of the working crew, then a few quiet feline steps will probably be no issue. After a few steps, the shadow you cast across the deck begins to move across his face, and with it you get the first sign of movement from the canine. What do you want? His voice doesn't carry any malice, nor does he make any effort to open his eyes. His tail flicks across the floor, and the thick fur of it brushes your own paws for a moment. It's me. I guessed as much. I asked what do you want, not who you are. The lizard's walk sounds different. I don't think the maned wolf will be visiting me on deck today. But what about our officer? He might want something from you. That gets him to lift one eyelid to scan your face. You do have eyes. He's a horse. They have hooves. A few awkward seconds hang in the air before Wolf repeats himself. What do you want? Almost immediately, the doubt starts to form. Doubts about just how serious Wolf really was when he agreed to it, or if he expected that you would just never follow through on the subject. Can I sit over there? You point right next to him, and for a moment, Wolf tilts his head to the side to look at the piece of empty deck you're pointing at. You didn't just come over here to sit on the floor. What do you want? You take a deep breath and realize that there doesn't seem to be any other way but the direct one. You reach into the pocket of your breeches to pull out the bundle of needle and thread you brought with you. I brought a needle and thread. Because of the game before, remember? Where you mentioned that I could mend your shirt. He looks at you as unmoved as usual. And as he tends to, he leaves you to stew in what you said for a moment. Your torture ends when he replies with a brief, "Go ahead." That's it. No cussing you out, no sending you away. Just, "Hey, Mr. Wolf, I'd like to see you shirtless, pretty please," and he just agrees without so much as even a single word of protest. And not that you're one to complain about how smooth it's going. No. You waste no time sitting down next to him and crossing your legs, your tail wrapping around them to keep the wandering thing under control. Have you ever done this before, or was this just the first idea you came up with to get me to take off my shirt? Alright, y'all, I'm actually going to pause it right there. We'll probably get to see Wolf shirtless in the next video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank y'all for all I do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silverman. Thank you for going a bit above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. And thanks to our 3 gold tier patrons, Zeke, Toby, and Blue Wolf Alpha. Y'all are awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to all our Safe for Work contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!